Okay, waiting for folks, waiting for folks. You don't know who I am. I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for Pathos, covering the Quiverful movement for nearly 10 years, and I've written a couple of years on my own. I'm now on my own. And my internet is wonky today. I don't know why. I had a terrible time with the internet to even get the guilty verdict. And then I walked off and started making blueberry pancakes, and I totally forgot. Guilty. I know. I thought for sure. I knew he was guilty. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Hey, Claire Bear, but getting a guilty verdict in this thing feels like an enormous, enormous victory for all victims of SA. I mean, it really does, particularly in that particular sphere. So many people have been harmed so much by the theology. And I'm going to leave a link in the comments, in the description, to Cindy Kunzman's latest article on this. She actually wrote about how if you were sexually abused in this group that follow Bill Gothard, they say you've actually done something. You've been subductive in some way. I'm using my rough South American Kleenex. I can't help it. I need Kleenex. So everybody, Nitwit, everyone always grateful, Kiki, Claire Bear, Hillbilly Vagabond, CJ, and anybody else I may have missed. Can you believe it? We got the verdict. The verdict is he was guilty on all counts. I could not believe it. So that now the question becomes, what will the sentence be? I haven't seen yet how Arkansas and the feds handle that. I know in some states and in some federal cases I've seen, there's actually a part of the case that happens after the guilty verdict where they hear evidence about why they should not amount, a small, the full amount, but I suspect he'll get whatever the investigators have recommended, and they will have a recommendation on this. It should be the maximum. He'll be vagabond. Unfortunately, that's not the way the court system works. A lot of times they're happy to get the median range, and both counts carry a maximum of 20 years and a $250,000 fine. Thank you guys for giving to my yarn fund. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to arrange estates I visit specifically to buy things. Yeah, it's a celebration of yarn. He should never get out. CJ, I am thinking that he should never get out either, because everything I've seen, all the statistics I've seen, all the things say that when you have somebody that has this tendency, they tend to reoffend. But on the good news, if he does get out, he will always be on the sexual offenders registry, always, from now on until the day he dies. So there's that. People will be warned about they have a sexual predator among their midst, and hopefully take the proper precautions. I wanted to say too about this whole thing with him being found guilty. I'm shocked because this took place in Arkansas, and I understand that Fayetteville is a more liberal Arkansas city that has a university and everything. But I had, when they didn't come back very quickly last night, I thought, well, it'll probably be the end of the day tomorrow they'll come back, because it tells me that somebody on the jury is probably not 100% down with everything. So it may have been a Duggar supporter, a Duggar hugger got on the jury. I mean, that's always possible. I don't care how carefully they try to screen the jury. Yeah, they do reoffend. There's no non-reoffending for these guys, even if I keep saying this, even if you do a chemical castration, these guys come out and they reoffend. Now, we don't know that Josh is offended in this way, but here's my prediction. My prediction is in the coming year, we're going to hear, and maybe longer, we're going to hear more and more tales come out about what he did to his family members. maybe even to his brothers, even though so far it seems to be he likes females only. I mean, if anyone has those urges and never offends, it's a hard call. But once a repeat offender over decades, nuke. Britta Lee, he has been a repeat offender of stuff that's maybe not illegal. I mean, his Ashley Madison thing was not illegal. It's not illegal to have a membership there. It is illegal to do that to your sisters. It just is. So where do we go from here? I don't know. I'm hoping the son gives us some kind of idea which way we're going to go with this when it's over with. I saw Anna holding his hand this morning. All I could think is she is a better woman than I. Kiki Ray, she's a poor brainwashed woman because that's what her theology teaches. It teaches that you always forgive the man. It doesn't matter what he's done. You forgive. You move on. Debbie Pearl has stated in her book, Created to be a Helpmeet, that if your husband goes to jail for something like this, you support him through the trial. After the trial, you go see him in prison. You bring the kids to see him in prison. You support him in every way, shape, and form. And when he comes out, you place your kids with somebody else and you welcome him with open arms and open legs. And that's just wrong. What I'm hoping now happens for Anna is that she wakes up. Like I said, we had something not dissimilar to this happen in my old church. And it took a couple of years of everybody holding that woman's hand and saying, maybe you ought to divorce him. He did do that to your children. He did that horrible thing to your children. The sister stuff was definitely illegal and definitely repeated behavior. Over the course of years, Brenda Lee, when Bobby Holt said that it took place over years, I was blown away because they'd been saying that it had only happened one time in all those years. And to find somebody in the Duggar world that said, no, that's not right. This happened over and over and over and over again. It just blows me away that Jim Bob is complicit with this. He is actually, as far as I'm concerned, he's as guilty of this as Josh. If they had handled Josh's fascination with sex correctly when he was a boy and got him the right kind of help, we would not be here today. I'm convinced of it. And I had heard that was one of the things that were going to bring up at trial, but apparently they did not. Now, whether they bring up in the penalty phase of the trial, before the judge, when they give a statement and the victims all give a statement, who knows? Blue dye in my hair. No, it's just my hair is just got the bluish color to it. I'm not even sure why. It's a blue silver. Sometimes I get silly paint my hair when I'm painting. That happens. That does happen. So I made it. Fayetteville is more liberal because of the college town, but there is still a good old boy mentality there. My late husband was from that area. Always grateful? Yeah, I know that. I've got friends that live in that area. And when I started talking to them about this going down, they were like, it could go either way. A woman I know got kicked out of her housing because she took her hubby back after he got out of jail. No registered offenders are allowed in my complex. She even twisted herself into blaming the kid. That figures. Guilty. Yes, T. King, guilty on both counts. Now, here's what I'm curious about. I don't know why the federal government only charged him for 2 counts. They charged him 1 for the videos and 1 count for the actual still pictures. The numbers of hundreds of still pictures he had on his computer, they could have charged him individually for each and every picture. But I guess they figured that was just overkill. The maximum he can get from the 2 counts is 40 years combined. Now, whether that is concurrent or consecutive, I don't know. They may run it concurrently. I don't know. But that's the maximum. Chances are good he'll probably get a lot less than the maximum, sadly enough. But then again, maybe the judge has decided to make an example out of him and will give him the maximum. I don't know. There's just no way of knowing where they're going to go. They can now force an exam for his children because they refused one earlier. Now that he's a federal offender, they may force one, and Anna won't be allowed to be directly present. Not only that, they can force one of his brothers and sisters at this point, his younger, under 18 brothers and sisters. They can force on the family now. They can force the family to actually answer the hard questions in regards to what Josh actually did. So where do we go from here? Well, we won't hear anything unless somebody unnamed Duggar insider tells us about the kids being examined. I don't foresee that happening unless you see there's another filing against him while he's in jail, which would not be unheard of. If they discover he's harmed his children, which I pray to God he is not, we'll see another set of charges, and they'll bring him into the courtroom again. But the feds don't have a special sex offender prison. They sometimes will put them together in a prison. So we'll have to see where Josh serves his time and how much time it is. I am afraid of one thing. I'm afraid that if he gets into one of these, one for possession, one for viewing it. Yes, sweet B, that's exactly right. I was wrong. I keep forgetting that. I'm hope that he's not killed, but at the same time, I don't hold out much hope for him surviving prison. Even if he wasn't put in prison for this awful thing that even other prisoners go after prisoners for, the very fact that this is a pampered and coddled patriarch, male patriarch, tells me that the prison life is going to be a hard one for him, even if he isn't sexually abused, even if he isn't physically attacked by anybody. And they may end up putting him in solitary for a very long time because they may not have any other choice, which that's no life either. His life is virtually over for this point. The son said it would take 4 months for sentencing to take place. He will be in custody until sentencing. Yes, they'll take him away today. After the sentence was read, he may get enough time to say goodbye to Anna in a private room, and then they'll take him away. Rena, guilty, guilty, guilty. They found him guilty on both counts, possession and viewing. So they got him. I had a feeling that they would get him on this because the only defense they had was that stupid router defense. And they had the most expert witness, the only one they could find that would even come up with anything and say anything that they liked. So when your defense is that crappy, there's not a whole lot they can do. I know that the defense had a lot more. I mean, the prosecution had a lot more they could have chosen to bring out, including likely Jill Dillard. Yeah, he is in custody. I saw that too. I saw, Kiki, that they'd already pulled him into custody at this point. He deserves to be in protective custody. He can sit in the shoe by himself with only the Bible to read in the house of other inmates. Oh, I shouldn't even be laughing at that. But I suspect that's his life. And I think that he'd probably go crazy in shoe all the time. That would be my expectation. I think I would probably be okay with it, but I think most people wouldn't because I'm a spoonie and I have many days where this bedroom is as far as I go. I might go out into the living room a few times, but if I'm having a spoony day, I'm in that damn bed. I can't help it. I really think he will have a very hard time in prison. Best thing for him would be to be in lockdown. Always grateful. I agree with that. I think that lockdown. Thank you, Rena. Thank you so much. It's going into my giant yarn fund that I'm going to the States hopefully soon to spend after Christmas. I'm hoping. I still have to firm that up, but yep, I'm going. In order to survive, he may become gay for the state. Holly, I've thought about that too. They will hold him until sentencing. Yes, they will. And they probably will hold him in protective custody until sentencing. And here's the thing I've been thinking about, because my husband and I, our favorite show is Love After a Lockup. We watch that a lot. And just the tales that the prisoners come out with about their time in lockup and the things that happen, I just know that he's going to have a rough time. He has never been in a situation where someone has told him no before. He's never had to learn the word no. His daddy and his mommy, they created this monster by not getting him the help and for giving him special entitlement and privileges. We used to call him the smugger Duggar over at Free Ginger way before any of this went down. Smugger Duggar. I mean, all the way back to when he was like a young teenager. He's about to get a whole lot less smugger. He's about to learn some big life lessons at 30, 30 plus 30. How is Katie Joy not live right now? I thought she was earlier. Somebody was talking about it. I'm such an agoraphobe that lockdown barely affected me. Same thing, Brenda Lee. I generally only go out to food shop during non-panini times. Yep, you got it. Same here, same here. Except we got to get our car worked on, so it'll be even longer before I go out again. I had to drive the car this morning. That was an unusual thing. I don't drive very much anymore either. I hope it's hell for him. I think, CJ, that we can pretty much assure it will be, even if they just hold him in protective custody. This is a boy that's never heard no. And I call him a boy because I know he's physically a man. He's 33. He's the same age as my son. But he's never heard the word no. He's never had failure. He's never anything. The closest thing he had to failure was when he got fired from the Family Research Council because of what came out about his sisters. That's the closest thing that boy has ever had to failure. And that's one thing that you cannot wish that crap away for your kids. You just can't. Everybody has to learn that lesson. I frequently tell the tale of my youngest. My youngest is blonde. She's smart as a whip. She's got a lot of positive things going for her. She's an extrovert, unlike me. She's the opposite of me in almost every way, but her and I, we're pretty close. She started applying for colleges. She wanted to go here, there, and there. And she applied to her top 3 and she got rejected. And I kept telling her before she applied, it's like, your math scores aren't great. And we paid for a tutor. We paid for her to take the SAT several times. Her math scores were not great. Everything else was awesome. And she had all this leadership skills and all these things. Well, guess what? She got rejected from all 3 of her top schools. And she's talked about that now as being a determining moment in her life, that taught her that not everything in this life she could charm or weasel her way out of, because she was one of those people that liked to charm people. She would tell me when she got the rejections and she was crying and pulling her out, she was like, Mom, if I could just talk to the admittance people, I could make them take me. I could charm them. And I'm sitting there thinking, ooh, that's a very dangerous place to go with this. So she since said that taught her a big lesson. I hope that Josh learns some lessons like that in prison. I hope he doesn't come out in 5 to 10 years and it's like resume his life as a smugger Duggar. I hope he learns how to be a human being, learns compassion, learns that this world owes him not a damn thing, nothing. Prayers answered. I wish I could see Jim Bob's face. Yeah, same here. And I wish I could hug Jill Duggar Dillard right now, because I know she has got to be having a great awakening now. And I know the same thing with Joanna. Joanna is just hearing all this for the very first time. And you could tell by her and her husband's facial expressions leaving the courtroom, they were just heartbroken. They had never heard any of this before. They'd been listening to the Jim Bob spin on everything and believed all that. And now they know. Now they know what had happened. Christmas has indeed come early. Yep, I was low down about the holidays, but now I shall enjoy them, knowing he is safely behind bars. The Lone Wanderer's bunker. I'm going to do a video about Spoonies and Christmas because I think it bears discussion. I mean, I've already talked once about, not feeling the holiday spirit, how there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need to talk about how Spoonies are going to have to deal with this because, I was just talking to my husband about something he wants to go to, and I just said, no, I'm just not doing that. He's always been treated like the golden child. He doesn't even have a true real world experience. No, because they have isolated him. I truly hope he has no other victims. And if there is hope, he is charged for that too. Sickness like that doesn't change. Some peas get less jail time than selling weed. Yeah, I've heard that too, but this is pretty serious. Just got here and driving. There was a verdict. Guilty. Both counts. Do good letters. He's guilty. I was really shocked. And somebody came in and said it's going to be 4 months before the sentencing, which means we're probably going to have Victims give statements, and Josh and his family give statements about why they don't think Josh should do any time or limited time at best. Guilty, guilty, guilty. I'd love to see other people's faces if he tries to act as some kind of moral, religious guidance figure in Gen Pop. Yep. Yep, yep, yep. I can foresee that happening too. I just hope he's there until those kids of his are grown. I hope so too, Deb. I hope that they keep him until the youngest one is over 18 and Anna is no longer fertile. I don't want any more kids coming out of that and possibly being exposed to God knows what. I just hope he is in there until his kids are grown. Yep. I hope he gets a nice boyfriend in jail. I'm not going to go that far, but it is an amusing thought. I am going to say that. Just enough time for Anna to get pregnant again. No, he's already in custody. So there is not going to be any Anna pregnancies unless he knocked her up last night. I mean, that's not happening. I hope the prison will only make, I hope that the prison will only make him worse. Ugh. I just pictured him the first time some big dude comes and takes his lunch or something. It's going to be a messy awakening for him. He's going to learn very quickly that his family name doesn't mean diddly squat in prison. It may actually harm him instead of gaining him any kind of favor. And I hate to hear of him being abused in prison, but we know that's very likely, unfortunately. The prison system and the whole justice system needs to be completely redone. So I'm going to wait and see what kind of sentence they give him before I pass judgment on whether this was a good or a bad trial. That's not what you wrote. I must be misreading. You do know that prison will only make him worse. Yeah, it will. No, Francis, he is not out until sentencing. When they snatch you up, when they say you were guilty, the U.S. Marshal Service, if it's a federal trial, they pick you up and they put you in protective custody in jail until sentencing is passed. And they do that immediately after. They don't wait. Sometimes, if they're kind and compassionate to you, they'll put you in a private room with your spouse to say goodbye. But sometimes they just snatch you up and haul you away and don't give you any chance to say goodbye, from what I've seen. I feel like an awful person for making the boyfriend joke. Two wrongs don't make a right. Though I want her, it's understandable, though. God knows I thought it before, even though I would not say it. I thought, oh, Josh is going to get himself a big old boyfriend. He'll be gay for the stay, but I don't think so. Well, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Josh? And I hope wherever is he's secure, because I would hate to think of him being harmed. But I wouldn't hate to hear that he had learned a few life lessons, like he's not that special. He's just like everybody else. With everything going on in the world, I needed to see a positive outcome. I was really pretty down on this made my day. Barbara, same. This has been, not a great time. Chances are pretty good Josh was abused as a child. Question is who? Deborah, if that's true, it's not necessarily his family. It could easily be somebody in their church. I mean, they did home churching for a while, but they've also gone to other churches. It's been my experience that a lot of times with these smaller Baptist churches or non-denominational, sometimes their ministries, like their bus ministries or their nurseries, are staffed with sex offenders, because these are churches that don't believe in getting in making sure the person's not a sex offender. I spoke about that a lot at my old Fundy church. I actually got them to start doing background checks. And we did training on how to avoid these situations, just to make sure. But that was just because we had discovered we had a sex offender among our midst that didn't go away to jail for abusing children. So until that happens in the church and it comes out, the pastor knows about it, they are not very likely to ever do that. They just go on with what is. His bond was revoked. He's been ordered to be held in custody until sentencing. Yep, exactly. So these offenses have special wards to keep them away from other prisoners because it's rough for them in prison from the prisoners themselves. Claire Bear, I hope that's true with the federal system. I know one thing, he's not going to be getting any kind of conjugal visits. They don't do that in the federal prison. That's a no-no. And many state prisons now don't allow that either. They've stopped that for many places. A lot of us have been abused and did not turn around and offend ourselves. Yes, Brenda Lee, that's very true. It's only a certain subset of those who've been abused that turn around and do that. I think the majority of us don't. We try to do better. I know I have. I don't try to do anything like that, what was done to me as a kid. Think the statistics are high that abuses were, abused as children. Yes. Someone said Anna ran out of the courtroom. I don't know. I haven't looked at any of that yet. I was just eager to jump on here and talk a little bit about the fact that he's guilty because I've been waiting for this. And I wasn't 100% sure that the jury was going to find him guilty, even though I was pretty sure he was guilty. About 99.99% sure, but you can't always predict what the jury is going to do is the problem. It depends upon who's on there and how much of a pain in the ass they decide to be. I wonder where he's going to be permanently housed. I don't know, Amanda. I tried to look that up, and they can put you anywhere pretty much in the federal prison system. Would have loved to see him cuffed and brought out. Same here. I would have loved to have seen the look on Jim Bob Duggar's face. I know that's petty, but I'm that kind of petty sometimes. And now children will be protected from him for a long time, hopefully until they're grown. Please, judge, sentence him to at least 18 years. That would be awesome if you could keep him out of the house until his youngest child is of legal age. That would be the most awesome outcome of all times. Son said Jim Bob hired Anna after the verdict. Well, we know also that Anna bought a piece of property the day before Josh was arrested for $1, a pretty good sized piece of property with a trailer on it, a mobile home. So she owns stuff in her own name that she can actually make income from. So I don't think we have to worry about her starving. But if Jim Bob hired her, that's a step in the right direction. Yeah, do good letters. I've been trying. I really wanted to. I've been wanting to talk about this, and yeah, I bet they will have a picture of him in cuffs. I shouldn't be so gleeful over that, but I am, because we've been following this horrible thing since at least 2015. I'm going to tell you, as far back as 2009, 2010, this was talked about in quiverful churches. This was, I'm not going to say common knowledge because it wasn't common knowledge. This was whispered about. People knew about it. In my old church in Virginia, people knew about it. So it's kind of a underground, not railroad, but kind of an underground telegraph service when these things happen. When someone is pretty prominent in that world, you will hear all this stuff because people talk about it. Oh, Hug, you didn't hire her. Okay, I thought he was giving her some money or something. Wouldn't he need to be sentenced for longer than 18 years since most of the time people only serve 2/3 of their sentence or something like that? He would. Jim Bob, Justin, and his wife left together and would not answer any questions. Well, we know where Justin stands on this. Justin is supporting his paycheck. Let's face it. Those kids that are standing with Jim Bob are only trying to protect their own income, because Jim Bob holds all the financial strings of that family. He is the one that hands out money or not and property. So there's that. 2 counts, possession and viewing. That's exactly right. The Sun reported stated that Anna was completely stoic. You don't think she was so full of Xanax that she couldn't hardly walk? I wouldn't blame her for that. I think that's probably a smart move on her part, if she was, and I hope she was. If not, That's that quiverful training kicking in where you don't react, you don't do anything that's negative at all. An attorney I heard yesterday said he'll get 25 to 30 years because the 40-year sentence will most likely run consecutively. Plus, he'll get 5 years for each count for the age of the children involved. I think that's probably a pretty good approximation of what they'll give him. Those kids have no formal education or personal finances to break apart yet. No, they don't. And they haven't said officially, the judge, the extra years consecutively, so they could get 30 total. The federal charges, they usually run them concurrently. So we'll just have to sit back and see. The fact that John David wasn't there at the trial is very telling, yes. And there are some others that did not show up that I think it's very telling that they weren't there. I hate feeling celebratory over this, but my God, he's a monster. And I'm going to justify my feelings by reminding myself he won't be able to harm any more children. That's how I feel, Rose. I hate that I'm gleeful over this, but at the same time, I'm happy there'll be no more victims of him whatsoever. Isn't that separate from the CSAM trial? That may be. I hope he gets as long as possible. Maybe. It's going to be 4 months before sentencing. Oh, and the ages of the people. Yeah. Arkansas is a very small federal prison in Forest City. I'll have to take a look because they don't always put you in federal prison in your state. They try to, from my understanding. But I know with some people, they've just moved them all over the place. They would move you if they don't have proper facilities to take care of you and you have a certain need. They'll move you if you're too much of a distraction where you are, or too much of a problem. They have moved people I've seen in the federal prison system because if somebody who is related to the victims is actually working at the prison, they'll move you to a different prison. So there's all these different reasons. Plus, there's different prisons in the federal system. They're set up for different types of prisoners. He can be sent to any Fed prison. Yes, he can be. It depends. It just depends upon who's best prepared for him. Concurrent is together and consecutive is one right after another. Yeah, it's easy to get it mixed up. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. When this news broke, I was still eating my blueberry pancakes that are a mangled mess. I was late getting breakfast because I've been sick lately. So, happy day. Happy day. I want to say Jim Bob Duggar. Josh Duggar was found guilty on both counts. It's not a good thing to be happy over somebody else's misfortune, but he earned this. He really did earn this through the years, and there are a lot of people that he's hurt. And all of us who are victims of this sort of thing, this is a good day for us. Love you guys. I'm going to go ahead and go.